Hey, how you all doing? It's been a little while. Been receiving a lot of interest in my videos, so we're bringing back some YouTube videos. This is my intro. Just unloading the bike, coming home from a national enduro in Crossworks, PA. So stay tuned and check out this video clip I got coming at you. Coming up next. Thank you. Okay, so coming to you right now with a tip for how to set up your rear brakes for off-road. A lot of times in off-road, we're on and off the brake really hard. The straightaways in off-road are really short. A lot of times we're on the brake really hard, and one bad habit that I've had myself, and I know a lot of other guys have, is as far as just dragging the rear brake. So you want to set up your brakes so you don't have an issue with this, prevents fading, stuff like that. But first and foremost, I want to talk about how to set up your brake pedal. Now, because, like I mentioned, a lot of guys that ride off-road tend to drag the rear brake. Their thought process is to drop their brake pedal lower and lower and lower. Most cases, these guys, I'm using a glue here to illustrate what I'm talking about. Most cases, these guys sit down. When they're sitting, foot's kind of located like this. The more they reposition their brake pedal lower and lower and lower, it's less apt to drag. Now me, the only problem with that is I see where I'm more of a stander. I like to stand when the brake pedal's super low, the height's low, where it gets taut or more brake. A lot of times you have to lean forward. Under braking, when you're standing, you want your body back. You don't want to be forward. Okay? So I set up my brake pedal, the height, more like a moto standard. The moto standard is you want the height, meaning the resting height, above the foot peg. So if you had a straight edge, it's above the foot peg. And it gets taut or brake right about level with the foot peg. Okay, now that's great for, like I said, standing, but there was a learning curve for me to get used to it to prevent myself from dragging it more because it's high. I ride with my foot nowadays more off the side of the brake pedal. Now, if it's super tight, yes, my foot is actually up here, I'm tight to the bike, and I'm controlling more of the brake pedal. It's more of a riding school thing where I have more brake control. A lot of guys ride with their foot on the foot peg and still covering the brake, they drag the brake and they're more on-off, locking up the rear wheel. Locking up the rear wheel, in my opinion, is a loss of forward momentum. Okay, so back to brake pedal setup, the height, like we talked about, and then the next thing I want to talk about is your spring. Now, the standard KTM bike just comes with one return spring, okay? And a lot of times they break and wear out. I like to double up on the spring, either just another stock OEM spring, or something from a hardware store like Lowe's or something like that, a little more stiff and rigid, which I do prefer because two springs and something stiff and rigid gives the brake pedal more of a feel in your foot. A lot of times, like I said, when guys drag the rear brake, your foot's on the brake pedal and you don't even notice it, don't even realize it. Okay? So doubling up the brake spring makes the brake pedal have more feel, and a lot of times you're less apt to drag the brake. Now, in doing so, my camera lady will zoom in just a little bit. In doing so, you see how I doubled up? I had to drill 2 holes, and I also fabricated a bracket off of this side cover 8mm bolt. Any kind of bracket work. I've used a Masterlink faceplate before, and in a sense, I think this is from a hard parts, Rocky Mountain hard parts bolt kit. Any kind of bracket will work. That's key. I feel it gives you more feel and better control of the brake pedal, plus you're less apt to grab it or drag it. Okay. What else? I'm gonna move down here a little bit. Camera lady will follow me. One of the other things, as far as brake setup, I hear it all the time. Everybody thinks slotted rotor, meaning the stock rotor has slots in it, is better because of the air. We're never going fast enough for it to grab any air, in my opinion, in off-road. The more surface area, the better. It's not just, a lot of times guys think solid rotors for mud. Solid rotor is also good when it's, for high heat situations. Why? Because you have more surface area for the heat to dissipate. Something I learned a long time ago. So always think solid rotor. As far as the brake line, a stock brake line, now I'm talking KTM or Husky, I always replace the stock brake line. I've had issues in the past where it's not crimped properly. Crimping means down here at the end where the braided line is crimped to the fitting. A lot of times it's actually crimped on the plastic coating that goes over the braided line. And what happens is a little bit of heat and that rubber, coating that's over top of the braided part gets hot, it pulls out of the fitting. It's actually supposed to be crimped on the braided part. And a lot of times it's prone to happen on a stock OEM brake line. I replaced mine with an Enduro Engineering brake line right out of the box. And I believe it's a Gopher brake line is what they supply you with, but it's one of the best brake lines out there. It's one of the cautions you should do to have good brakes all the time and not have any brake issues with your brake line. As far as bleeding the brakes, I always run high temp brake fluid. We used to use Motul. These days I use Bel-Ray, but anything high temp. As far as hair scramble, Enduro, you should at least bleed your brakes every race. Enduro, a lot of times I would bleed my brakes in between tests. But you should always bleed your brakes at least once between every race. If you don't, you're asking for issues because the brake fluid, the more it gets heated up, the more it breaks down, the less apt it is to handle high heat conditions. Okay? Always want to run a shark fin. A shark fin pretty much just protects your brake rotor from rocks, roots, stumps, logs, anything that can come in contact with the brake rotor and become bent. So you always want to run a shark fin. I don't run the KTM quick pull leap system as far as the pin. And when it clamps over the brake caliper, I've had issues with that popping up and coming out before. I've always run the stock OEM brake pin with the stock pin in the back, but I removed one and put safety wire in one because I've lost one that way too. Meaning the stock OEM brake pin clip has come out of the pin and it's slid out. So I always safety wire one and use the stock OEM clip in the other end. As far as brake pads, I always run DPs. DPs, they've been a sponsor for years. If I didn't have them as a sponsor, I would still run DP pads. In my opinion, they're the best pad. If you had to go anywhere else, it would probably be EDC. But if you're a high heat guy, you're always dragging the rear brake, you want to run anything semi-metallic or less metallic in the brake pad, meaning not gold. Gold has more metal flake in the brake pad, therefore it's going to generate more heat. Okay. Heat sink, meaning the heat plate. A lot of times guys will run stainless little heat shields between the puck and the first brake pad. I don't. I've had guys push me to do that. I've tried it. What a lot of times it will do is it actually keeps the heat in the caliper and in the puck, and therefore, in the brake pad more. Doesn't let it dissipate into the caliper and throughout. And a lot of times it keeps the heat right at the brake pad. What happens is the glue that holds the pad to the metal part of the shoe will therefore get heated up and actually breaks the brake material off of the metal brake pad part and comes apart, and then you went from having perfect brake shoes to none at all. So it keeps a lot of heat right there at the pad. I don't run heat shields, at least because if it's going to generate heat, it'll heat dissipate throughout the caliper and throughout. Okay, so I don't believe in them, I don't run them. Something else I often run, always in off-road, is a brake snake. It's simply, you can make one, you can get the little clasp crimp fittings from Home Depot, or they actually sell them in like Rocky Mountain, sells them and stuff like that. In this sense, it's just a throttle cable to anchor the brake pedal and keep debris from getting in behind it and therefore pulling it out. Okay. And also understand that I'm going to do a brake tip on this, but you can run them and not be as taut, okay, and not have issues with them. A lot of times guys will crimp them too tight, and the more brake pad, more pedal you get, meaning your pedal starts to drop a little bit after your brake pads get worn a little bit, your pedal starts to drop, and because their brake snake is so taut, it won't allow you to. What you do is just remove the back clasp here, the back hind joint off the brake pedal. Okay, and make sure that even though you got the anchor, fastened to the frame and the brake pedal, that you still have full movement of the brake pedal itself. So therefore, no matter how much pedal you have or how much free play you have, you still can actually reach the brake and not be caught up on just too taut of a brake snake. Something that I've been through, I've seen a lot of guys go through, and you can still run them. I've heard guys say, "Oh, I'm not going to run that because of that issue." Well, you got to understand how to mount it up. So, like I said, so going back through everything, run your brake height a little higher, taunt with the gets taunt with the foot peg, double up on your brake spring, helps give you better feel. You always want to run a shark fin. Enduro Engineering is pretty much my go-to with all off-road parts. It's tested and true, and they're good. They have good products. Brake line, you want to remove the brake line and reinstall a new one. DP brakes, stock pin with safety wire, a solid rear rotor, and a brake snake. Something also I forgot, back up in here, the hoop. I know my camera lady won't be able to get to it, but the hoop, meaning where the brake line comes out of the brake fluid reservoir and turns and goes back to the caliper. I also run a lot of heat shield stuff, plastic heat shield stuff to keep the brake line from coming into contact with the motor. I've seen guys have issues where the bike actually compresses, the suspension compresses, and the brake line actually gets forced into the back of the case where the cases are hot. Therefore, and what happens is it starts to wear a hole in the brake line. So you always want to put something protective around the brake line, that hoop part, to keep it covered and from heat conditions. So you don't have an issue down the road. It'll haunt you if you don't. So there you go. That was some tips on how to set up your bike for off-road, your rear brake pedal. And, I'm sorry, set up your rear brakes for off-road. All right. So we got some tips coming at you soon, and please let me know how you like this one. Thanks. Wait. The video is not over. To kick off the new RLR series of video tips, we are doing a giveaway. And the giveaway this time is a Ryobi 1700 PSI pressure washer. Great for pressure washing dirt bikes. I have one myself, and obviously I have not used it yet. But we're giving away this particular pressure washer to a lucky individual. All you have to do to qualify is share this video on your Facebook page. Just hit share. Your name will then be put in the hat, and the drawing will be this Saturday. And we will do a video drawing, and we will mail this to you, or we will get it to you however we need to do that. So share this, and you will be in a drawing to win a pressure washer that is great for washing dirt bikes, and I've actually used mine on my driveway. So share away. Thank you. Bye. The video is now done.